Hey everyone, and welcome back to Typhlosion, a Pokemon that has never had any controversy. Today I'm going to go through my attempt at a hardcore Pokemon Nuzlocke in HeartGold version. While you look over the rules, I will mention, at times throughout this Nuzlocke, you may notice I have obscene amounts of various items. Long story short, besides rare candies to avoid grinding, every single item I use can either be purchased at a mart or farmed over time, so hacking in the berries and whatnot was just for convenience. But anyways, we have a lot to cover, so let's just jump into it. After playing the Wii and getting kicked by a ginger, I went to Professor Elm's lab for my starter Pokemon. I checked to see if any of them were shiny, and then I chose Cyndaquil. Then I made my way to Mr. Pokemon's house so Professor Oak could give me the Pokédex. On my way back to Newbark Town, I battled the redhead who stole one of the starter Pokemon, and then told the police officer his name was Derek, after my cousin Derek, who I grew up playing a lot of Pokemon with. After asking for my mom's permission, Cyndaquil and I officially set off on our adventure. What? Yes, Lyra, I know how to catch Pokemon, please leave me alone. On my way to Violet City, I caught Sentret, Rattata, Caterpie, Bellsprout, and Geodude. But before scaling the Bellsprout Tower, I actually traded my Bellsprout for an Onix in case I needed him for the first gym battle. I defeated the Elder and then went to challenge Faulkner. Onix knocked out Pidgey, but then started to disobey me, so I switched to Geodude to wrap up the fight and I obtained the Zypher badge. Before leaving Violet City, I picked up an egg from Elm's assistant at the Pokemart, and then I went to Route 32 where my Cyndaquil evolved into Quilava. Once I got through Union Cave and made it to Azalea Town, I saw a Team Rocket grunt harassing an old man, and then he refused to let me go near the well behind him. I talked to a guy named Kurt who decided he was going to stand up to Team Rocket, and then he fell down the well and hurt himself, so I decided to step in and take down the Rocket Grunts myself. My Butterfree easily took down Executive Proton, and we saved the Slowpokes from getting their tails cut off. Now it was time to take on Bugsy. The Pokemon I caught between gyms were Mareep, Sandshrew, and Zubat. Geodude and Quilava completely decimated Bugsy's team, and he gave me the Hive badge. However, I wasn't done battling in Azalea Town quite yet, because I had to fight Derek again. While Flaffy and Onix easily took care of business, beating my rival is always entertaining because of how angry he gets. Useless Pokemon. I hate the weak. This kid is turning as red as his hair. The next area for me to explore was the Elix Forest. Right off the bat, I ran into a kid with glasses who needed me to catch some Farfetch'd for him. Conveniently, my reward for doing this was HM Cut so I could proceed through the forest. Flaffy showed a kimono girl how to exit the forest, I watched a man headbutt a tree, and then I made it to Goldenrod City. Before trying to earn my third gym badge, I had to take care of a few things. First, I grabbed a bicycle, then I traded a Drowsy I caught for Machop, and finally I aced the quiz for a radio card, which then made Whitney head back to the gym. But I'll also mention on Route 36, I fought a Psychic Trainer, and their Kadabra knocked out my Rattata. This didn't seem like a terrible loss at the time, but we'll circle back to this death later. The Pokemon I caught leading up to the fight with Whitney were Paris, Drowsy for Machop, Nidoran female, and Sunkern. Now I was pretty nervous about battling Whitney, because she might have wiped the floor with me on my first attempt. Can't confirm nor deny, so that's why I made sure to have Machop on my team. After defeating Clefairy, the dreaded Miltank came out. I tried getting off a low kick, but Machop flinched after getting hit by Stomp. I switched to Geodude, who managed to hit a single Rock Smash in the midst of some more Stomp flinches. I had Onix lower Miltank's defense with 2 Screeches, but Stomp flinches and Infatuation also led to another switch. Nidorino's Poison Point caused Miltank to be poisoned, but then its Lumberry activated. I swear, Whitney's Miltank already has a diabolical moveset, but the fact it's also holding a Lumberry is just downright mean. I sacrificed Furret to get a free switch back to Machop and knocked out Miltank with a low kick. Quit your crying and give me the plain badge, Whitney. Now that I had beaten Whitney, I could grab the Squirt Bottle to get past the Sudowoodo blocking my path. I battled some trainers in Route 37 and then arrived to Ecruteak City. I ran into Bill in the Poke Center and quickly backtracked to Goldenrod so he would give me an Eevee. Next, I went to the Burn Tower where I met Eusine and Morty. After battling Derek and watching the legendary dogs run away, I could go take on the 4th gym. My encounters before battling Morty were Eevee, Magnemite, and Coughing. I got through the spooky gym puzzle and the battle began. Golbat managed to take down Ghastly and Haunter before being put to sleep by Gengar. Now remember how my Rattata was defeated earlier? Well, he would have been a really good option to use in this fight because Morty's Gengar can't really touch normal types. So to make up for this, I had the bright idea of using Eevee instead. But then Gengar used Mean Look and I quickly realized I made a mistake. I didn't have any moves to hit Gengar, so I had to wait for Gengar to start struggling and then eventually knock out my Eevee. Let me know in the comments how I could have approached this battle better, because this is why I show all my encounters before every gym fight, so you can analyze and critique my Nuzlocke. Butterfree came in to finish off Haunter, and Morty gave me the Fog Badge. I headed southwest of Ecruteak City and was immediately greeted by Derek in Olivine City. He didn't battle me this time, but he did go on a short rant about how annoyed he was about the gym leader tending to a sick Pokemon instead of being available to battle. My rival is such a nice guy. To see what was going on with the sick Pokemon, I headed over to the lighthouse. I eventually made it to the top, where Jasmine told me she needed medicine from Cyanwood to heal the sick Ampharos. This made me realize I had completely forgotten to grab the HM for Surf in Ecruteak, so I had to backtrack again to the dance theater. I defeated the Rocket Grunt and an old man gave me Surf. I rode across the water to Cyanwood City and sort of forgot when I see Suicune, Eugene shows up to battle me. Once his Electrode came out, I really wished I had brought Graveler with me. Machop got hit with a Thunder but managed to survive and use Vital Throw. I sacrificed Sunkern to bring in Flappy and managed to win the battle without any more casualties. I grabbed the medicine for Ampharos and then went to battle the 5th gym. The Pokemon I caught along the way were Tauros, Krabby, Tentacool, and Magikarp. I stopped the waterfall from blasting Chuck in the head, and he wasn't happy about that, so we started battling. Despite Chuck being a fighting type trainer, I led with Graveler on his Primate because it kept spamming Focus Punch, which I was able to mess up by using Magnitude. Then I switched to Ampharos, who took down Poliwrath in 2 Thunder Punches, and I obtained the Storm Badge. Back in the Olivine City Lighthouse, I gave Jasmine the secret potion, and Ampharos was healed. And to thank me for being such an upstanding citizen, the gym trainers didn't even battle me. They just gave me a pat on the back. The only Pokemon I caught before taking on Jasmine was Wooper in the Ruins of Elf, and I led with it as a Quagsire to start the gym battle. Quagsire took out the first Magnemite and then knocked out Steelix with a couple of Surfs. Graveler took out the last Magnemite, and Jasmine awarded me with the Mineral Badge. After getting my 6th badge, I flew back to Ecruteak and traveled east to Mahogany Town. I wanted to challenge the gym ASAP, but a fat guy standing in my way told me about someone with a black cape at the Lake of Rage. A black cape? Could he mean Batman? Now, we all know about the red Gyarados in the Lake of Rage, but unfortunately for me, I already had a Gyarados, so I ran away from the shiny one to avoid it killing any of my Pokemon. I came back to shore to talk to Lance, not Batman, and he asked me to help him investigate some suspicious activity going on in Mahogany Town. I walked in on Lance's Dragonite killing a man, and we discovered a hidden staircase to Team Rocket HQ. I fought a bunch of grunts and then battled Executive Patrell, so a random Murkrow could imitate the voice password. Lance and I teamed up for a double battle against Executive Ariana and a grunt, and then we put down the Electrodes to turn off a big evil machine. Although I did actually catch one of the Electrodes, so that one survived. Besides Electrode, the other Pokemon I caught before fighting the Ice Gym was a Noctowl. Now, an important rule of a hardcore Nuzlocke is having level caps for each gym. Jasmine's level cap is 35, so naturally, Price's was 34? I swear, the level curve in this game is crazy. Despite this, my Machoke single-handedly took care of business, and I got the Glacier Badge. And shortly following my victory, Quilava evolved into Typhlosion, so I made sure to get a restraining order. To advance the story, I flew back to Goldenrod City to take on Team Rocket at the radio tower. But before I did that, I grabbed a Rocket uniform to blend in, and I think it looks so cool on my character. I wish I had the option to wear it for the rest of the Nuzlocke. Unfortunately, my stealth strategy didn't last long because Derek barged in and spun my clothes off. After defeating Patrell again, he gave me the basement key so I could go save the radio director. I guess Derek was trying to hinder me from taking down Team Rocket because he challenged me to another battle while I was trying to find the director. After battling him and some Rocket grunts, I found the director and he gave me the card key for the radio tower. I made it to the top and took down Archer, and the director rewarded me with the Rainbow Wing. Now that this side quest was out of the way, I could finally proceed east of Mahogany Town. Getting through the Ice Path puzzles was very easy, and I totally didn't have to look up a guide, so I got to Blackthorn City in no time. I put my team together and went right to the gym to take on Claire. The encounters I got between the 7th and 8th gyms were Chinchou, Poliwag, Swinub, and Gligar. The battle with Claire wasn't too hard until Kingdra came out. My Kingler lowered Kingdra's speed a few times with Mudshot, but then I decided to just go for broke and spam Guillotine until Kingler eventually fell. I really wanted a free switch and didn't mind losing Kingler, so she sacrificed herself for the cause. Ampharos finished the job and I received my 8th and final... Excuse me? Listen, you blue-haired bitch. I won fair and square. I shouldn't have to go to the Dragon's Den to prove myself. You're more of a sore loser than Whitney. You know what? Fine. I'll go do an extra task because I'm bigger than this and... Wait, what's the matter? Is it too much to expect of you? Alright, my dad told me to never hit a woman, but I'm disobeying him today. Anyways, I went right to the Dragon's Den and passed the test with flying colors. Claire couldn't believe it, but she apologized and gave me the Rising badge. With all 8 Johto badges in my possession, I had to do a couple more things before challenging the Elite Four. Professor Elm gave me the Master Ball and then told me to head back to Ecruteak City to see the Kimono Girls at the dance studio. Now, I was pretty nervous because I had to fight 5 Kimono Girls in a row, and they all have a strong evolution with the move Last Resort, so I needed to make sure I didn't dilly-dally in the battles. Fortunately, Machoke, Gyarados, and Quagsire all made quick work of the Kimono Girls as Pokemon, and I made it through without losing a single team member. I scaled the bell tower where the Kimono Girls summoned Ho-Oh, and I caught it with the Master Ball to avoid any issues. Next, I surfed over to Kanto and made my way to the Victory Road entrance, and I completely forgot how easy it is to get through Victory Road in this game. You just need HM Strength, and there's only one battle. The Ginger. The sketchiest this battle got was when I tried taking out his Kadabra. Gyarados got confused after being hit by a Psybeam, and then proceeded to hit herself in confusion, living on 1 HP. Luckily, Graveler and Tauros brought home the victory, and I officially made it to the Indigo Plateau. My last encounters before fighting the Elite Four were Dratini, Slowpoke, Ponyta, and Donphan. I took a longer time than I'd like to admit preparing for the Elite Four, but once I had figured out my movesets and held items, I was ready. My team to help me become a Pokemon Master was Magneton, Golem, Machamp, Slowbro, Gyarados, and Typhlosion. But I will show you my PC really quick so you can let me know if you think I could have assembled a more optimal team. I walked through the door and the challenge began. The first member, Will, was probably the trainer I was least prepared for. And boy did it show. Magneton took care of Xatu, but then got put to sleep, so I switched to Typhlosion, who took out Jinx with 1 flamethrower. Next was Will Slowbro, so I switched to my own, who had also been put to sleep by Jinx previously, but luckily he woke up pretty quick. If for no other reason, I brought my Slowbro to the Elite Four specifically to tank hits and heal with Slack Off. I maxed out Slowbro's special defense with Amnesia, and then slowly chipped away with Surf and Zen Headbutt until he took down the opposing Slowbro. He also took down the second Xatu, and then Typhlosion came back in to finish off Exeggutor. Not having a Dark type definitely made this battle harder than it needed to be. But like I said, my strategy wasn't that great either. I took the W and moved on to the next battle. Koga was really easy. All I did to prepare for this battle was attach P.E.K.K.A berries to some of my Pokemon. Otherwise, it was very straightforward. Typhlosion beat Ariados, Golem beat Forretress, Slowbro beat Venomoth, and Magneton beat Muck and Crobat. Moving on. Unfortunately, Bruno wasn't as easy despite being pretty simple in the Kanto games. He started off with Hitmontop, so I led with Slowbro, but to avoid getting nailed with Counter, I weakened Hitmontop with Surf before taking it out with Zen Headbutt. Machamp defeated Hitmonchan in a few turns, and then Gyarados took care of Hitmonlee and Onix. Last was Bruno's Machamp, and I was anticipating him to use Rock Slide on Gyarados, so I decided to pivot to Golem. But I guess the game prioritized using Revenge since I made the previous Pokemon faint, and Golem didn't stand a chance. Slowbro came in to take out Machamp, but man, losing a Pokemon in the third battle really frustrated me. But if I had to lose a Pokemon at this point, I guess Golem probably would have been the best option. Karen was also pretty easy. Aside from Gengar, I just kind of 1v1'd her entire team. I only switched a little between Gyarados and Typhlosion because I was scared of Gengar using Destiny Bond, but Typhlosion wrapped up the battle with Flamethrower, and last was Lance. He was the last trainer standing between me and becoming a Pokemon Master. Excuse me, DJ? I'm gonna need you to crank that shit. My strategy wasn't complicated. 3 dragon dances and start sweeping. But things got sketchy immediately because despite freezing Lance's Gyarados, I missed Ice Fang and then the freeze wore off that same turn. My Gyarados was sitting at 30 HP with 2+ attack and 3+ speed, so I really didn't want to switch out at this point. So I attacked again and Gyarados held on to win the matchup. It's really funny because my cousin Derek, who I named my rival after, was actually sitting right behind me watching me do this battle, and we were so hyped. I kinda wish I would have been recording our reactions. Thanks to the dragon dances, I outsped and one-shot Aerodactyl, 3 Dragonites, and Charizard, winning me the battle. My Pokemon and I were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that was it. Is what I would say if this was a normal Pokemon game, but we still had to travel to Kanto and earn 8 more gym badges. Now narratively, the postgame doesn't have a ton going on, so this section will be much more brief than Johto. Back in New Bark Town, Professor Elm told me to head over to Olivine so I could meet with Professor Oak. Oak gave me the National Dex and I boarded the SS Aqua for Vermilion City. Also, when I was on the boat, I played hide and seek with a little girl and was rewarded with the Metal Coat, which I actually decided to use to evolve Onix into Steelix. I would have loved to have Golem for the battle with Lieutenant Surge, but after my Donphan swept his first 4 Pokemon, Steelix came in and took out the last Electrode. My first gym victory in Kanto got me the Thunder Badge. I headed north to Saffron City where I was reminded of how Kanto in this game really doesn't have much to do besides catching Pokemon and fighting the gyms. I couldn't explore the Sylph Company, the fighting dojo was deserted, and I couldn't even walk through the underground tunnels. Regardless, I entered the gym to take on Sabrina. Oh, and for what it's worth, I caught a Pidgey on my way to Saffron. Sabrina wasn't super easy to beat, but I still 1v1'd all her Pokemon with Dragonite beating Espeon, Steelix beating Mr. Mime, and Magneton beating Alakazam, which earned me the Marsh Badge. My encounters before taking on Erica at the Celadon City Gym were Spearow, Mr. Mime, and Muck. My newly caught Fearow and Muck, along with Typhlosion, had no issue taking down Erica's grass types, and I received the Rainbow Badge. According to the internet, the next gym battle to do was Misty, but I noticed in Fuchsia City, Janine's level cap is 50, while Misty's is 54. So I headed south so I didn't have to deal with another level curve conundrum. I only caught 1 Pokemon before trying to earn my 12th badge, and that was Slugma. And this encounter worked out nice because Macargo is a great Pokemon to lead on Crobat to start the fight with Janine. Also, they tried to be slick with her gym puzzle of invisible walls and clones, but she's right in the middle. It's so obvious. But anyways, after a few rock slides from Macargo to get past Crobat, Weezing came out. Despite trying his best, Macargo couldn't really hang, so I had Tentacruel come in to knock out Weezing. Rapidash blasted Janine's last 2 bugs, and she gave me the Soul Badge. I wanted to challenge Misty right away, but when I got to the Cerulean City Gym, she wasn't there. I realized I needed to actually head over to the power plant so I could trigger a Team Rocket grunt showing up in her gym. After I defeated him on the Nugget Bridge, I retrieved the machine part and took it back to the power plant. The whole point of restoring the power plant was so the Lavender Town radio station would get power, and the reward you would get for helping them out is access to Kanto's radio stations on your Pokegear. And one of these stations plays Pokeflute music so you can wake up Snorlax just east of Vermilion. I made a quick detour to go wake up Snorlax, but in the process of trying to catch him, he knocked out my Magneton. So as punishment, I nicknamed him Fat. Now to finally get Misty back to her gym, I traveled just east of Bill's house and interrupted her date. The Pokemon I caught before battling Misty were Nidorino, Abra, Goldeen, and Electabuzz. The fight was going fine for the most part, but then I had to face Lapras. Lantern got paralyzed and nearly died from a crit, and Ampharos was frozen, so I switched to Electabuzz, who managed to fight through the body slams and take out Lapras with Thunderbolt. Electrode took down Starmie and Golduck, and I received the Cascade Badge. The next gym leader to face was Brock, so I went through Diglett's cave, caught a Diglett along the way, and arrived in Pewter City. I dropped off an old Amber I found to be revived, and I totally didn't forget to pick it up the rest of the Nuzlocke. Of course not. To prepare for Brock's team, I evolved my Poliwag fully into Poliwrath, since a water fighting Pokemon would match up pretty well for this gym. I walked around the gym trainers and was ready to take on the biggest simp in Pokemon.
And you're the Joy from Celadon City! Oh, remember me?
Poliwrath and Machamp tag-teamed and knocked out all of Brock's Pokémon very easily, earning me the Boulder Badge. While passing through Viridian City, I noticed the gym wasn't open, so I continued south to Pallet Town. I kept surfing south to Cinnabar Island, where I ran into Blue, but he said I would need one more badge to be worthy of challenging him back in Viridian City, so I went to the Seafoam Islands to take on Blaine. Between battles with Brock and Blaine, I caught Pineco, Pikachu, Doduo, and Tangela. Aside from Magmar getting lucky with his Confuse Rays, Poliwrath, Gyarados, and Tentacruel washed away all of Blaine's Pokemon, and he awarded me with the Volcano Badge. Blue agreed to head back to his gym, and it was time for me to get my 16th and final badge. To avoid any Trick Room shenanigans, I had Typhlosion take out Exeggutor with Eruption. Blue has a very diverse team, so switching out was an important way to keep the tempo. He threw out Rhydon, I switched to Poliwrath. He sent out Pidgeot, I switched to Electabuzz. When Machamp came in, I figured he was going to go for Earthquake, so I switched to Dragonite. This was a correct prediction, but I didn't know Stone Edge can still hit your Pokemon if it flew up in the air. Luckily, Dragonite tanked the attack and knocked out Machamp with a single fly. Gyarados and Arcanine went down, and Blue gave me the Earth Badge. Professor Oak then gave me the HM for Rock Climb and granted me access to Mount Silver. When I got to Mount Silver, I caught a Heracross to add to my team, and this was my final encounter for the Nuzlocke. Steelix, Typhlosion, Gyarados, Dragonite, Electabuzz, and Heracross were my final team of 6. I scaled Mount Silver and challenged the man, the myth, the legend, Red. Also, why do Lance and Red share the same battle music? That is the ultimate insult to Red, if you ask me. Anyways, I led with Steelix on Pikachu because he resisted or was immune to all of Pikachu's moves. Gyarados brute forced her way through Blastoise and Snorlax, and next was Lapras. I tried switching to Electabuzz, but he ended up getting frozen by Blizzard. Fortunately, Heracross avoided the freeze and used close combat to knock out Lapras. I really needed a free switch back to Gyarados for Charizard, so I sacrificed Electabuzz, who was defeated by a Flare Blitz. Gyarados survived an Air Slash and took care of Charizard. The final Pokemon standing between me and victory was Venusaur. Gyarados dealt some damage before going down to Sludge Bomb, and I brought Heracross back in. Venusaur couldn't do much else, and I spammed Mega Horn until I won. Red was left speechless, and I officially completed a hardcore Nuzlocke for Pokemon HeartGold version. I had a ton of fun playing through the Johto remakes again, and having infinite rare candies to offset the horrible level curve only made it better. The main critique I have for myself is sometimes I went into battles not fully prepared. I also could have done a little bit better with less deaths. I only had 8 overall, which is pretty good in my opinion, but I definitely should not have brought Eevee to the Morty fight. I would have brought Rattata, but of course he fainted, which led me to bringing Eevee, so it was like a domino effect. It was all my fault, but losing Rattata still technically caused me to also lose Eevee. But if you have any other critiques or advice, let me know in the comments, because I am not a pro at this. Could my teams have been better for specific fights? Did I not optimize my encounters very well? I want every Nuzlocke I do to be a learning experience for myself, and for you, the viewers. But anyways, that's gonna about do it for this video. If you want to check out my Sapphire Hardcore Nuzlocke, I'll put that right here. Thank you all so much for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.